So we have to have another little chat in the woods. Why? Well, I had a recent discussion with someone who brought up a bunch of scientific studies as proof for their point of view, which is fine. That's a good thing to do. But when I brought up my significant experience in the subject and the fact that my degree and work experience has been on similar subjects, I wanted to bring up a key point about scientific studies if you're going to use them. So here's the deal. For my example, we're going to talk about raw milk because I grew up on a farm, and not a dairy farm, but I worked on a dairy farm. I grew up on a sheep farm. And one of the fun things about having base knowledge is how you view a scientific study. So most people, when they read a study, they go and they talk about the introduction and the summary. They don't actually read the methods and all the stuff in the middle that is very, very important, especially if you don't have any base knowledge on the subject. It's very hard to address and evaluate how that study was done. So for instance, they say, oh, we took 10 samples from a dairy farm. Okay, well, is it a dairy farm that has cows stored in sheds because there's a higher bacterial load if you do, and it's more difficult to wash? Are they pasture cows that are out in a clean environment, free roaming? That's much cleaner. Was the dairy farm a commercial farm that has a commercial milking setup? Because that's going to produce different results because that is designed for pasteurized milk production. So naturally, if you test a commercial milk lot, you're going to get a lot of bacterial contamination. Why? Because they don't care, it's going to get pasteurized. Did you go and, come on miss, let's go. Did you go and check a actual raw milk for human consumption, not pet consumption, for human consumption? Was that the intention of the milking process? What does their decontamination look like? Was that mentioned in the study? Yes, raw milk is more risky than pasteurized milk. We know that. Hang on, miss, you're stuck. No, you got out. Over this way, let's go this way. This is better. Come on. So that is inherently a higher risk. But what is the risk as a total? And that's the other key thing to look at with all this is, what is the total risk? So if I have this raw milk and compare the raw milk consumption to a similar risk, say eating out, you're inherently more likely to get sick eating out a takeout from any restaurant than you are from raw milk when you look at the total consumption, total illness, everything compared. It's also similar to, say, looking at vaccines. Vaccines, if you read the data and say, wow, the risks are super high because look at all these results. But then you break down the results and you see the majority of them are skin irritation from an injection, which is considered natural. That overall risk is then miniaturized to quite small. Then you've got, oh look miss, found you another golf ball. You got to compare risks. If I said, well, you would be stupid to drink raw milk because of the risk, and you drove to work, well, you don't actually understand risk comparison, because driving to work is about 4,000 times more likely to kill you than raw milk is. Actually, it's even bigger risk because there's been barely any deaths from raw milk in modern times. Why? Because we know how to treat food poisoning now and salmonella bacterial outbreaks. The other thing, Miss Reika, thank you. The other thing you have to look at with this kind of stuff is, what were the bacterial loads that they discovered when they were doing these tests? Like, yes, there was bacteria, but there's bacteria in everything. Reika. Were they high bacterial loads? Reika. Were they high bacterial loads that would cause sickness, or are they something that your normal gut biome would neutralize? There's your golf ball. So, overall, when you're citing sources, make sure you understand how they work.